Yes, guys. Hello. Welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel. I hope everyone's having a very good Sunday afternoon so far. The weather's good, the sun's out, and we are here to bring you a Tottenham Hotspur tier list, keep, sell, or loan. And in this video, hopefully, gives you a bit of an insight into what we're thinking. And obviously, as well, if you're watching on repeat, pop your comments in the comment section below. If you agree, or do you perhaps disagree on certain players that should be sold, or certain players that we should keep and we've said that we should sell? So, yeah, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you're smashing like on these videos. We're smashing the support. We're loving the support. And we hope to continue this journey and bringing you guys daily content on Spurs-related YouTube. But I've got him back because he did, everyone was loving him in the comments yesterday on the tactical analysis. And I can't even believe it didn't click at the time. Obviously, I know his name's Frank, but I completely forgot his surname. And we got people saying, surely you're not being serious. No, Frank Thomas was actually analysing Thomas Frank. But yeah, Frank, how you doing, mate?
I'm great. Thank you for having me back. I'm looking forward to it. Do it again.
Good. Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. And guys, while we're going through this live, no cuts, no edits. Let us know in the comments below if you do agree with these rankings. So, Frank, we've got about 30 or so players to get through. So let's start off by getting straight into it. And as you guys can see, we are using a tier maker. And as you can see at the top, we've got untouchable. Then you've got keep, loan, sell if there's the right offer. I guess essentially if you're 50-50, if we get a good transfer fee, and then must sell. And obviously we have used a template. Ange is obviously not someone you can sell, but we have obviously, sacked him. Rightly or wrongly, I'll leave you guys to decide in the comments. But we've already put in Fraser Forster, whose contract has expired, which was actually expired July the 1st, but he's already been let go by the club. We've also got Alfie Whiteman, who's been at the club many years, actually went off on a bit of a high with his collaboration with Letterboxd, which I thought was great content. And then you've got Højbjerg, who has been made a permanent deal to Marseille. Reguilon, his contract expired as well. Werner, again, same, second loan spell, again, didn't do very well, as we know. And then, of course, as I just mentioned, Ange Postecoglou. But, guys, as I said, whack your comments in. And, of course, Stu's here, as always, probably one of the biggest supporters in the Spurs community at the moment. Big yourself up, mate. But, Frank, let's talk about this then, shall we? Let's have a little think. So, should we start off?
Start with the goalkeepers, I guess.
Start off then. I'll hand you the mic to start with, mate.
Pressure. Right, so Brandon Austin, obviously, as our first one. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I don't think he's going to be, overly necessary, or hopefully not, because I hope the other two don't get injured at the same time. I think he's a decent third choice goalkeeper. I mean, they gave him a 5-year contract last summer, I think it was. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't know if we're going to get much better as a third choice, to be honest. I mean, he was all right in Europe a few times.
What are you thinking then? Are you thinking a
I think I'd keep him, to be honest. I don't think you're going to find much better that is willing to not play, to be honest with you. He was good against Newcastle when he played, decent in Europe. If you'd agree with that, then I'm more than happy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think third choice keeper, you can't start being picky, can you? So yeah, I think that one's a pretty easy agree. And guys, if any of you guys don't agree with what we're saying or what our decision is on these tier rankings, let us know in the live comments. I can already see there's about 30 of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, loving the support. Frank, next we've got obviously Vicario.
Yeah, I mean, we're not getting rid of him. It's the simple thing. I mean, I've seen quite a few people sort of suggest the likeness towards the Ramsdale situation when Arsenal got rid of him and brought in Raya, and I've been quite impressed with Kinski as well. But I think for now, I mean, he was a big part of us, winning the Europa League. Nearly threw it in the final, but I'll let him. He's a good goalkeeper, and I think we're a better side when he plays.
Yeah, I still have my question marks about how he uses his feet. It can be very sketchy, I think. It's given me quite a few near cardiac arrests in the south stand when I'm watching from just behind that goal. But then again, as we were saying in our analysis video yesterday, Thomas Frank tends to sometimes play long, sometimes play short. Whereas with Ange, it seemed like it was always passing it out from the back, no long balls. He always used to go absolutely nuts if we kicked it long, didn't he? Those clips online. So does that suggest that he's less likely to use his feet constantly? I think either way, we need to be wary of that potential weakness. And again, I think a weakness of Vicario's is his ability to come out from a corner and come and catch a cross. We conceded many goals last year with him sort of coming out, not being too predominant in the air, and maybe dropping the ball or giving possession to the team in the box and giving away goals. What do you think?
That's kind of and links onto Kinski as well. I actually think that Kinski as a goalkeeper is better all round. Like quite a lot of what I saw of him last year when he'd come and claim things, and I mean he made the odd mistake, but he's a young kid. I mean he made a through one in at Villa or whatever, but as I say, he's a young kid that's learning. And every time I watch him, I think he looks like a complete goalkeeper. But he's 21 and he's been here for 6 months, which is 22, whatever he is. He's been here for 6-7 months. I don't think he gets thrown into the team yet. I mean, they're both, we're keeping them both. That's not a, but yeah, I wouldn't say Vicario is untouchable, but I certainly wouldn't look to get to improve on him right now.
Yeah, I think so. From that, I'd say in the keep category, right?
I wouldn't disagree.
Okay, perfect. Kinski, we've kind of just touched on him there. I think, again, he's not untouchable, but he's not, we're going to keep him as our second choice, aren't we? So I think it's just a keep.
I think Kinski's one as well that in the next couple of years we'll look back on and think it was a real steal at £12 million or whatever it was. I think he could end up being a seriously good goalkeeper. I mean, he runs in his family, whatever. There's a few of them, but I think he could end up being a really top goalkeeper. But as it stands, he's young. It takes time. Not yet.
Absolutely, Frank. And okay, moving on to defenders, guys. Let us know if you agree with the keepers. Don't think there's going to be much movement at Tottenham Hotspur in terms of the goalkeeper department, other than of course Fraser Forster and Alfie Whiteman, who have been let go by the club. Moving on to Ben Davies. Now, I think for me, Frank, is a keep because we've extended his contract for a year, and can't see him moving anywhere, mate. So, what do you think?
Just going back very quickly as well, but Brandon Austin, something I didn't think of is that they've obviously got Josh Keeley as well. It was done unbelievably well at Leyton Orient. And so I guess that whole situation depends on if they can keep Josh Keeley, because if Keeley's happy to stay and then he looks like a very competent goalkeeper. So but moving on to Ben Davies, I don't see a world where he's going to stay, isn't he? They've kept him for another year. He'll go next year, I imagine. But he's solid, he's reliable, he works hard, and he's someone that Thomas Frank would probably really like and respect because he will do what he says, basically.
And I feel like he's almost he's almost going to be that figure in the dressing room that's seen it all, really. He's been at the club over 10 years, I believe now. I think 2013 has he been at the club since, maybe 11 or 12 years. And, at the end of the day, a lot of people were calling for his head 4 or 5 seasons ago, and he's remained. He's won his trophy. You could argue, is he a legend? I don't know. I'll let people decide in the comments in terms of his loyalty, certainly. But yes, I think, an easy keep. Not much more to say on that one.
I think this is where it gets interesting, actually. The first time it's been an interesting one.
Okay, so centre-backs, Dragusin. Radu Dragusin is first. Frank, I'm going to let you take the mic on this one, mate.
I think we should keep him. I think unless I'm not going to put him in that unless you got £40 million from him or something, which you're not going to. I would keep him.
Yeah.
I think that Thomas Frank likes his centre backs to be big, first of all, and he's 6'3". And so that's one thing. He likes them to be dominant in the air, being able to, absorb that pressure, and then which he does excellently well. We saw him do it at the Etihad when he played last year and we won 4-0 at City. We saw him do it in the Euros for Romania last year. He absorbs pressure well, and he's a proper defender.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends how he comes back from the ACL injury. He wasn't perfect under Ange, but I think it's hard to judge a lot of them under Ange because the system was so whatever. And so it will be interesting to see if he does get used. I think he will, but it depends when he's also back. So I would keep him, and I think that's probably fair on that judgment.
Yeah, I think I just about agree. I am probably a little bit more unsure about him than you because I just think players make mistakes. And I've seen a couple of mistakes from Dragusin so far, including when he got sent off in that Europa League game, which I believe we still ended up winning, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
But that was an absolute shocker. Frank, remind me what game that was.
That was Karabag.
Yeah.
In Europe, yeah.
And I think we still won, but I guess maybe he couldn't play on that high line under Ange, and maybe he's not quite got that turn of pace. So under Thomas Frank, perhaps, as you're kind of alluding to, he will do better. But I'm still not convinced he's going to be absolutely class. But then again, we shouldn't moan. We've got pretty decent centre backs. I'd start to worry more if we do lose Romero, because then Dragusin becomes more in the fold, right? Unless we then find another sort of replacement. But I think for now, and the sake of this video, he's certainly not untouchable. I certainly wouldn't loan him because we haven't got that much depth in defence in terms of slightly more experienced players, although he's not massively experienced. But he's more experienced than the likes of an Ashley Phillips or a Dorrington. So I think a keep for now. See how he does for another season under Thomas Frank, and maybe judge it from there.
Agreed. I don't think the next one needs overly much on it, to be honest. I mean, he's just signed. He's key. I think he's a good defender. I like him. I've been impressed with him. I think there's moments of madness at times, but I think he's a pretty good defender on the whole. And for 20 million quid, I'm more than happy with that.
Agreed. Well, there's not really an option on this one. Like you said, he's staying. The club confirmed that because I think it was a loan with an option to buy, which we triggered, right? And so, he did pretty well at times when he came off the bench, especially in those latter stages of the Europa League games, came on against Man United in that final, locked things up, did pretty well against Frankfurt, as you mentioned, I think yesterday's stream, Frank. So, I think he's solid, and I think he might do well under Thomas Frank. So, it's a keep from me. And just a couple of comments in the chat. John Simmons, welcome on in. He's saying Vicario shot stopper okay, but crosses, corners, set play. Vicario does not command his area. I think completely agree with you there. I think we kind of alluded to it while we were describing Vicario earlier in this live stream. And Rich, I'm not sure if that's you or just a class picture of it's very meme-like, Rich. But he's saying keep Danzo and sell Romero. Wow. I don't think many people are agreeing with you on that one, Rich. I'll be honest with you. I think, people agree on keep Tanzo, sell Romero. I think you're in the minority on that one, Rich. I'll be honest with you. I think certainly myself and Frank will say keep Romero. But at the end of the day, if we have to sell him, we have to sell him. We have to cross that bridge when we come to it. I also don't want a player that doesn't want to play for the club. And as we know with Christian Romero, he kind of does favour his national team. I think it's fair to say Romero very much favours his national team over club football. However, I think he's an exceptional centre-back that is, on his day, world class. I think he was pretty much man of the match in that final. Absolutely phenomenal, him and Van der Ven together. I think they were pretty much the reason why we ended up getting a clean sheet. They were exceptional. And then Spurs Nepal saying, welcome on in, mate. He's saying Guehi is available for around 45 to 50. If Romero goes, we can buy him. Liverpool won't spend around 50. Mark Guehi, Frank. I know we're trying to stick onto the tier list here, but guys, we will interact with your comments. So do, if you're watching, want us to bring up a comment, we will discuss it. Frank, I think Mark Guehi is obviously a very good centre back. Did very well in the Euros for England last summer. I think it'd be interesting if we can get him for 50 million, but I don't think we go for him unless we sold a Romero. Would you agree?
I agree. I mean, I think if they sell Romero, who is of a more elite level, they will bring someone in who is of a more elite level. And I think he's probably that. But I don't think you get him for 50 is the simple. I think he probably costs you closer to 70 than he does 50.
I don't think Palace will let him go for under 60, I'd say.
I don't, because I don't think Palace will. Given they got rid of Anderson last year as well. I mean, they were linked to Diamando, Sporting Lisbon the other day, which would be an unbelievable signing. Would suggest he might be on the way out, Gay. But I would like him not for 70 million. For 50, I would take him in a heartbeat if Romero was to go. But if Romero stays, I don't think so.
Got it. Interesting. Okay, back to our tier list. This is how it's shaping up so far, guys. Do you agree with any of this? Or do you agree with all of this so far? Perhaps if you don't, let us know. We've got about 20 or so players left to go, including some of the defenders, which probably speak for themselves. A lot of the midfield, which I think is where it gets a little bit juicy, and then the forwards, of course. So we're just talking about Christian Romero. It brings us on perfectly, Frank. For me, I've got to say, Romero, for me, do you put him in untouchable? Because I don't think he is untouchable, because I think we are going to listen to offers. Frank, what do you think?
I would like to say he's untouchable, but he's not. When he's brilliant, he's brilliant. But I think I read something that since he joined us, he's played 68% of the games that we've had since then. And in that same time frame, he's played like 88% for Argentina. And that can't happen. And given that the World Cup is next year, I think that will be in the forefront of his mind, that if all of a sudden Spurs are playing in March, he don't fancy it because he doesn't want to get injured. And that's a concern for me. It's obviously only got 2 years left on his contract. And I think next year will be a strange one selling him, because he won't want to focus on leaving. He'll want to focus on the World Cup itself. And then you get into the Kane situation, where you either have to sell him, you have to struggle to sell him next year, or he's going for nothing.
Yeah.
He's one that, for me, I love, and I think I'll be gutted when he goes, if he goes. I do think if the right offer came in, though, the right offer being a lot this summer, it would have to be a significant amount now. But I'd rather sell him now than have the fuss and problems next year. Personally.
Wow. So you just to clarify, you would say sell if right offer?
The right offer being probably 70 or 75 million. It's a lot. Wow. So the right offer has to be high.
Let's mix it up then, Frank. I'm not going to make it this easy for you. What if I'm Atletico Madrid and I'm coming in with a £55 million bid? What are you saying?
No.
What about 60 million?
I wouldn't go less than 70, I don't think. I think he's elite and I think he's brilliant. But I think you've got to kind of sit him down and question whether he's going to actually commit.
Yeah.
Or whether, because you can't keep having this. He might play this week, he might not, but then he's going to be in the plane for Argentina. You've got to pick a side, and so he's either got to commit, I think, or you've got to take some money from him.
Okay.
As much as I love him.
Yeah, I don't know. I see what you mean, because Thomas Frank's, policy is no D heads, as we discussed. Man, I don't know. This is a tough one. This has got to be one for the chat as well. Let's see what the chat's saying. Jack FN saying Frank is spot on so far. Rich is also agreeing with you. A1 Sanji saying Frank seems to know his stuff. Great find from you boys. Look at this. You got a whole party. This isn't all your mates just coming in, is it, Frank?
It's not.
Spurs the Pool. I'm joking. Spurs the Pool saying Palace fear of losing him on the free, so he's valued around 50. How long has Mark Guehi got on his contract? That's actually a good question, because that obviously does affect that point you've just mentioned.
I think it's under 2 years. I could be wrong, but
let's see. Mark, contract expires 2026, so literally a year tomorrow. I mean, 30th of June 2026. Wow. I get what you're saying now, Spurs, Nepal. Frank, I have to. I think I disagree with you on this one. Frank. I think Christian Romero has to be a keep if he's on board. And I think this is sort of what you're saying.
Yeah.
If he's on board with the Thomas Frank project, if there's any murmur or any sort of doubt that he wants to go to Atletico Madrid or to another La Liga team, or, he wants to essentially spread his wings and go and do something different, I think that's when you got to say, no, Christian Romero, you're not part of this fresh project with a fresh manager. You go off on a high after winning us that trophy or helping contribute to winning that trophy. We don't want someone that's in two minds about Argentina, in two minds about where he's going next. And I think you're right. Obviously, that World Cup is going to be playing a big part in his mind. You said that he was 88% available for Argentina, but probably less than 50% for Tottenham. Injuries do happen. However, Christian Romero isn't set and isn't clearly a fan of Thomas Frank. And if Thomas Frank doesn't think he is going to be full 100% with his project, I think I would go with your opinion of sell if the right offer. But I think that right offer has to be at least 60 to 65 million. You're saying 70, you're going even higher. But I don't think we're going to get 70 million. So I think we keep him. Where do you put him on the list? Let's get it back. I mean,
I think, as you said, and we both kind of said, that it's ultimately down to how committed he is. If he's committed to being there for the next 5 years under Thomas Frank, I'd have him in untouchable, because I think he's, on his day, when he fancies it, is one of the best centre-halves in the world.
Yeah.
He's incredible. He's a World Cup winner. He's a Copa America winner. He's a Europa League winner now. He's brilliant. And he was the captain until the 70th minute in that final. He was massive for us when we went and got the assist out in Bodo Glimt. He was a big part of it. He was brilliant, incredibly brilliant away at Frankfurt. Like, that's,
But we have seen his spicy side, like when we played Chelsea in the league 2 years ago. I have PTSD from that game where, he went flying in for that tackle. I think it was on, I can't remember which, I think it might have been Sterling at the time, wasn't it? I can't remember what Chelsea player it was, but it was absolutely madness. He gave away a penalty, got a red card. There's no complaints from me. I mean, it was a red card. You can't do that. Can't go in studs first. I think his disciplinary record, I think I remember him letting us down a little bit against AC Milan in the Champions League, I believe, February 2023 sort of time. You got a red card. I remember it being right near the touchline. It all sort of kicked off a little bit, didn't it, Frank? And he's certainly not untouchable. He's a keep if he's on board and he doesn't want to go, but he's a sell if right offer if he does want to go. So I'd put it in sell if right offer.
I would have to agree. I think that's one thing. I think in the last sort of year he's calmed down a little bit.
I think that's because Van der Ven's next to him.
Possibly, quite possibly, and I think he also. I think he bought into Ange, actually, well, probably more so than some of them. I mean, it's hard to argue when he doesn't actually constantly play. Yeah. But I think he did, and I think he respected him, and I think he calmed down a little bit. And being given vice captaincy or whatever, I think he calmed down. I think it was either this season or last season that he actually got booked less times than Mikel Arteta, which I always find quite funny.
Booked less times than Mikel Arteta, brilliant.
But yeah, okay. I think sell if the right offer is probably
nice.
The right move.
Nice. Guys, let us know if you agree with that Romero review in the comments. And those watching on catch up, there's a few of you watching live, of course. Appreciate all your support. I can see there's only about genuinely like 10 likes on the video. So if you are watching live, it takes 10 seconds to do so. If you could all smash a like on the video. I know it gets a bit annoying when I ask it, but it helps our channel grow. I'm sure you can appreciate that. Subscribe if you are new to Spurs Related. And, of course, also turn those notification bells on so you never miss when we're going live. But guess what? We're going live every day or doing a video every day at the moment. So I think we're on about a 7 or 8 day streak. So if you could help support the channel, that would be great. And I promise I won't keep plugging that like, but I'm sure you can help out. But that's the wrong one. Frank, let's move on now to Ashley Phillips. Go on, I'll let you take the mic on this one.
I don't know is the honest answer. I mean, he was brilliant at Stoke.
Yeah.
He had a good year at Stoke, and I think his development is coming on. And everything I ever hear, like I tried to sort of read up on what Stoke fans thought of him last year, and they loved him. I read, I think it was yesterday or this morning, that they reckon they'd take about £6 million for him. I find that slightly hard to believe because, I mean, he's kind of, he's good at that level. He's a top level centre half in the Championship. So I think it'd probably be 10 plus.
Do you reckon?
I like him.
We bought him for 2.3 million euros, which I believe is about £2 million. So if you're saying you think we'll stick out for 10, I think if we sold him, we would take around about 8. However, he is only 20 years old, just turned, by the way. I think there's room for improvement, obviously. He's nowhere near his peak yet. And I also think he's a big aerial threat. He's pretty physical, right? He's 6 foot. Is he 6'4" or 5, Frank? I mean,
he's big.
He's a unit, right? I just think getting rid of someone like him so early would be a mistake. And I think, are you saying Stoke are interested in buying him, or are you saying
that he was there? But then I read, I think Sheffield United. So that's what makes me think that they might get a bit more money for him, as if one of the top lot want him.
Yeah.
But I like him. My worry with him a little bit is you've got Romero and Van der Ven, obviously. You've got Danso and Dragusin, who Dragusin's still 22, 23. I think that gets forgotten a little bit sometimes, that he's still young.
Yeah.
And you've now got Takai and Voskovic, who I think probably go out on loan. We'll get to him. But I think, you've got those two now as well. If we had the Conference League or even the Europa League, I would probably go as far as saying keep him for the year, because I'd like to see him playing some of those early European games and whatever. But we don't have enough games of a low enough level to really test him, because you can't throw him in the Champions League, or you can't throw him in unless you throw him in the early rounds of the Carabao Cup. I don't think. I mean, you're not going to drop Christian Romero and Van der Ven because you fancy giving him a go in the league.
That's a good point, because this season we do not have those test games other than the pre-season, which, at the end of the day, you're testing your first team to see how good they are and if you need improvements.
Yeah.
Last season we had Europa League, where we were trialing the group stages and didn't necessarily need to win every single one. So there was a bit of room for, the likes of the Ajahis and the Mikey Moores and the, players in the youth team to get more of a chance. And I think you're right. I don't think we can be experimenting in the group stage of the Champions League, especially in this table format. If you lose a couple games, especially at that level, we're going to be caught trying to catch up, aren't we? So I think for Ashley Phillips, it's another loan. What do you think?
I wouldn't disagree. I'd like to see him go on another loan, and then I'd quite like to see him go on a European loan. Actually, I'm quite keen on that, because I think you learn different things. Like we did it with Troy Parrott, and obviously he did all right, and we sold him for £7-8 million, whatever it was. And I think you learn differently if you go abroad. I mean, over here it's a physical sort of game, and maybe if you wanted to toughen someone up, you send them to League One or League Two or whatever. But he's one that I would be quite happy to send out on loan to Holland or to Germany or one of these places where a lot of these young English guys go and end up being quite successful.
Yeah, I could see it. You say going to Holland or Belgium, I could see him, going to one of those leagues maybe. Hopefully we get an offer in for a loan term. So let's pop him in loan, Frank. I'm just going to catch up on a couple comments. Guys, let us know if you agree. And Oscar's saying sacking Ange was bad. Yeah, we put him in the must-sell bracket just because he was part of this template. But, if I had the option, I'd probably... Well, I'm not even going to start that argument now because I'll be here another hour. But I'll leave you guys to decide on that one. Okay, so next off, we have got... Looks like Pedro Porro. I need to get some glasses, though. Okay, so Pedro Porro, I think, is, in my opinion... I'm going to say it, Frank, and I don't know if you agree. He's untouchable. He's untouchable.
I agree.
I don't think we can even listen to offers for Pedro Porro unless it's about 100 million.
I wouldn't disagree. I mean, people sort of go at his defending and whatever, and I think, I mean this, I don't think he's too dissimilar to what Trent is. I think he's superb, and I love him, and I think he's both the fullbacks. I think we're often hung out to dry. in that system of playing inside and having to be everywhere constantly. I think in an actual structured system where he's a wing back, I think we're going to see the real very best of him in the next sort of year or so, or next, hopefully longer than that. I'm really quite excited about. I think he's superb.
Okay.
So I wouldn't disagree.
Easy, untouchable then. Right. So Mickey van der Ven. This one's going to be a quick one as well.
I think Porro's being joined up there, to be honest.
Yeah, he's soon got a friend.
Yeah,
don't even think we need to discuss. I mean what a player. What a player. Mickey van der Ven, arguably the player that won us the Europa League. You know, if that ball didn't get cleared off the line, would it have been a different story that night? You know, how fragile Tottenham can be at, letting things slip, I guess. But yeah, I don't think there's much need to talk about Mickey van der Ven. We all know how good he is. We all know how he's been one of our players of the season for the last 2 seasons since he's joined. He's been incredible. I mean, he was in the top 10, two lots of the top 10. I saw a video on Sky Sports of goals, assists of the season. The one where he just sprinted through, I think it was against Man United away at Old Trafford. And then there was another one at home against, I think it was Newcastle, where he ran and then he cut it back to Sonny and Sonny popped it in. It might not have been Newcastle. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it was Everton. So it was, Everton. Yeah, it was right at the start of the season. I think it was Everton.
But again, not just defensively, but he actually helps offensively as well at times. Yeah. And there's no one like him. I can't think of a player actually in the Premier League that is like Mickey van der Ven, that has that turn of pace, that is that lightning quick, and that can really, really catch up to a player when we are really in the mud, essentially. I also remember he caught up with a player against Frankfurt away in the Europa League, and that was huge as well. So he was just so important. I don't think I need... Frank, you can try and add to that if you want, but I think he's untouchable. I think it's easy.
I don't think there's much I can say. The difference with him and Romero for me is that Romero is replaceable. As much as I love Christian Romero, he's replaceable, and because there's players out there like that. I don't think I've seen a defender like Mickey van der Ven in probably in my life. Like, I've never seen a centre back who's that big. I mean, he's 6'4" and a bit, and that quick. I mean, there's obviously the reason that he gets injured, and I'm hoping that with Thomas Frank it'll be slightly more calm and those injuries will slow down a little bit, because they were just ridiculous under Ange.
Yeah.
And largely probably because of the style of football. So I'm hoping that with Thomas Frank, those injuries will slow down naturally. But I think he's probably always going to be someone that is susceptible to pulling up and stuff, because he is just a freak of nature.
Freak of nature, indeed. Completely agree. Let's move on. I can't believe we've been... Frank, we did say this would go quicker than we expected. I mean, we're 33 minutes in and we've got about 20 players to go. So let's try and fill some of these in. So Takai is obviously... I don't think you can say he's untouchable, but I think you can say he's a keep, because we're about to buy him.
Yeah. And I think they're going to buy him for the first team as well. That's I think it was Alistair Gold reported the other day or whatever. I think they're probably going to buy him for the first team. He's 20, so he's a little bit older. He's played 58 times for his team in Japan already, and he's played 4 games for Japan themselves. So he's of a level of experience that you can have as a 5th choice centre half or 4th choice, whatever he'll be next year.
Awesome. Let's pop him in. Let's pop him into keep. Who else have we got there? Vuskovic, who's obviously now joining us. We know we bought him a couple of years ago now, when he was, I believe, only 16 or 17. And now, obviously, he's had a really good loan spell out in Belgium. Scored 7 league goals, by the way, Frank. So he's a bit of a unit in the air, tall, physical, and obviously popping up at corners as well. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in. Will he get any first team action, or will he be very much I think he's going to be on that bench. Frank, what do you think?
I did, and then they signed Takai the other day, and I think he might go out on loan. But I think ultimately, kind of what we spoke about yesterday with Thomas Frank, is if he's looking at using a back 3 or 5 quite often, then I think he might keep him, because then you've got in Takai, who I think is the tallest of the lot actually that Spurs have at 6'4.5". Yeah. Vuskovic might be the tallest actually at 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is. Danso's 6'3", Dragusin's 6'3", Van der Ven's 6'4", Romero's the shortest of the lot. That if he wants that sort of big back three, all of them will suit it. And so my money would be on he goes out on loan, but it wouldn't shock me if he stays. I'm kind of relaxed at either one.
Okay. I guess that's how you look at this. Like, do you look at this as what we want, or do you look at it as what we think's going to happen? You think alone. I want to put him in keep, but
I'm happy to, but I could go either way. It's kind of I'm relaxed either one.
All right, let us know in the comments below what you guys think. I'm gonna say keep. Let's go keep.
Let's do it.
Okay, Jed Spence. Oh, I thought we'd be rattling through this. I think this one could cause a few talking points as well. Maybe not. I don't know. Right. I think he's not untouchable, but he showed signs. He went on that purple patch for 5 or 6 games last season where he was brilliant. I remember Ipswich away, he got his goal, his first Premier League goal. He was absolutely buzzing. There was a couple of other games where he was really good. He got a couple of assists. So I think he's a keep. However, could you argue, Frank, if someone came in for him, you sell him? Because at the end of the day, he might have a much bigger value now. It'd be interesting to see what transfer market is saying. What do you think?
I wouldn't disagree. I'm not sold on him yet, and that's probably going to frustrate people. I like him. I think he's good. I think if him and Udogie and Porro are all at their best, I think he's a way behind those two, personally. So, listen, if he's happy to be a rotation one that's going to come in and play, listen, you're going to have probably at least 50 games next season if you go out the cups at the earliest stages, or 48 games, whatever it is. So you're going to need rotation, and we saw Porro got comment. The top tier currently is Mickey van der Ven and Pedro Porro in untouchable. So I don't see a world. I don't think they'll sell him this summer. I don't think, but they could end up getting probably 35, 40 million pounds for him, given that we've seen some players that have gone for of similar sort of positions for a lot of money.
40 million for Jed Spence, you reckon?
He's English, which is probably the English tax. And two, I think he has every attribute to be top. I'm just not sure he gets enough time consistently at Tottenham. But having said that, Udogie's someone that suffered with a lot of injuries.
True.
He's played well on the left. They need another fullback. I would keep him. For now. I think he's a very solid backup.
According to Transfer Market, his value's gone from 8 to about 20 million this season in euros, 20 million euros. So, does he go for 40? I could see someone coming in for 25, 30. Then it's a question of, do you sell him that cheap? I don't think you do. I think if someone comes in with 40, that's sell if the right offer. But I think for now, I think you see how he does under Thomas Frank, and then you assess it next summer, potentially January. I think he's going to be here another season, and I think it's probably quite a important season in the sense that if he does well, he could kick on to be, a starter for Tottenham or a key player in the squad. But if he does badly, it's a case of you look to get some value out of him while he's worth something.
Agreed. And as I said about Porro, and I love Porro, and I think he's untouchable. But Thomas Frank likes height. He likes big players in that back line, and Jed Spence is tall. He's 6'2", 6'3", whatever he is. He might end up loving Jed Spence. So I think he'll keep him. I think he's a good choice. And as I say, we're going to have 48 at the bare minimum games next year, 38 league, 8 Champions League, and 2 in the other cups if we go out in the first round of everything. And that Porro can't play 48 games. So, or neither can Udogie. So you're going to need rotation. And so I don't think you're going to get much of a better backup for what you're going to sell him for.
I agree. Let's do it. Let's pop it in keep. Udogie, you kind of just mentioned him at the end there.
I think he's elite. I think, again, when he's someone that suffers with injuries, and that's, again, it's hard to judge these guys because they've only been here since Ange's been here, and Van der Ven and him and whatever. And so you don't know how injury prone these guys are, or if it was just the system that was just, killing them.
I think I'm sorry, just quickly on that. I think half of it is the way Ange played and the fact that he has a high injury record. A lot of his players got injured at Celtic, but I also think there's something wrong with our medical team. I've got to say it. I think for many, many seasons, I remember something happening with Ollie Skip where he had a nasty injury. It came back. Then they put him on too soon. Then it got infected. And then there's question marks over our Tottenham's medical team. It's been in the pipeline for ages. It's been discussed for ages, but I just think yes, we may see less injuries under Thomas Frank, but there is also a question mark over what is going on in those, with those medical experts. I mean, not to question someone over someone. So, everyone's very highly trained. Of course, they're all qualified, but something tells me there's something quite wrong there to get that many injuries. I just don't believe we should have had that many injuries. I mean, some of it's luck and some of it has got to be questioned. But anyway, we're not putting the physiotherapists on this keep, loan or sell anyway. So let's just discuss Udogie. Would you put him in untouchable then?
I think I would. As I say, you can sell him for whatever. I don't know who you get that's much better for the money you sell him for. It's kind of like the Jed Spence one again. That I think he's top tier, and I think in a system where he's a proper wing back like Porro has the potential to be. I mean, it's incredible. We've got 3 defenders and untouchable, and we could see the 65 goals last season.
Yeah,
but I think these guys are really top.
Let's see how we're shaping up, Frank. Let's just get that's it. Let's have a look. So I think it's fair to say I'm pretty happy with that so far. Let's go on to the next one.
This is easy, and I don't think it needs much conversation, to be honest.
I think we can literally safely say this is going in loan. No, I'm joking. In untouchable, of course. Lucas Bergvall, one of the most exciting players in our whole squad. Just sensational last season. Obviously, got the injury for the final, which was a shame. I think we probably would have dominated the final more if he was a part of it. But looking to see him fresh for the new season. Excited to see how he works under Thomas Frank. Obviously, the Scandinavian link there. I think it's going to be a very, very, very good season for him. And I wouldn't even be surprised if next season we start getting offers for him, mate. I really can't. We beat Barcelona to his signature, but, how long can we keep this guy for? Because I think he's going to the very, very top.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, if there was an extra option on there of lifetime contracts, I think he'd be above that. I mean, I love him. And I don't see a world, if he stays fit, I really do not see a world where he doesn't end up at Real Madrid. Unless we become a superpower, I don't see a world where he doesn't end up at Real Madrid because he's so Modric. He's genuinely, in terms of talent, one of the better players I've seen at Tottenham in the 10 years I've been going at Tottenham and 15 or whatever it is I've supported him. He's the guy's different level. He's just a genius, and he's not. You kind of watch him. I think when he first came over, we all thought. I think Madison said it this season. You kind of thought he'd be this pretty player that would just try and glide past people and get bullied a bit. But he's tough as well. He can do it all, and he started to pop up with sort of getting in decent positions for scoring goals near the end of the season as well. And I think he'll start to score more goals under Thomas Frank. I think he's a genius, and I hope that 6-year contract they signed him on, the new one a month or two ago, was done with the intention of keeping him for 6 years, as opposed to selling him to Madrid for triple the price next summer.
Well, it works both ways for ENIC and Levy, doesn't it? We either get a healthy fee for him, or he stays for
Superstar.
5-6 seasons. I think also what's so great about Bergvall quickly is how versatile he is. I could honestly see him playing. He almost was playing as sort of a 6/8 last season. I think you can see him in the 10 as well. I think Bergvall is such a sensational player. He puts in great challenges. He plays on the, he can play on the half turn, bringing the ball up the pitch. He's got great dribbling ability, and I think he can ping out a pass. So arguably all the characteristics as well for a number 10. I think it's exciting to see where Thomas Frank puts him. I think he's certainly a starter. Where he plays could honestly be up for debate, in my opinion, in that starting 11. So listen, he's going to be a part of it, but let's pop him in there.
I mean, sorry, guys, just back quickly. Sorry.
Go on, Frank.
I was just going to say that I'm watching him. I can't remember what game it was this year. It might have been the Bournemouth game at home. We drew it. It was a game around that sort of time, March time. when we were really bad and weren't taking the league very seriously.
Hmm.
And he came on quite late, and he got the ball and he switched it to one side, and it was Oliver out there or Johnson, whoever it was, and it was just a magnificent pass. And before the ball, you saw it rolling back to him again. They rolled it back to him, and you saw, I think it was Tell or something new on that left hand side just go. And I remember saying at the time to, I think it was my dad or whoever, said he's going to find him. And you knew that he'd find him just in the space of 30 seconds. He played these 2 cross-field balls. I think he's just a genius, and I don't think we realise how lucky we are, actually.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, no, spot on. Yeah, it's just sensational. There's a few key moments you can pick out from Bergvall, but yeah, absolutely love it. Guys, we're about halfway through and 45 minutes in. I thought Frank and I said we'll do this in an hour. It might go slightly over an hour, but let's see. Let's see how quickly we can rattle through some of them, because some of them are a bit self-explanatory. But while there's 40-something, 50-something across Facebook and YouTube watching live, smash the like button, please. I can only see 14 likes on this YouTube video. Next time I look at my screen, hopefully we have at least 25 likes. Can we push that up? And subscribe if you're new. We're on the way to 3,000 subscribers, and we'd love to keep popping out these daily live videos or daily videos, depending on if we go live or if we've pre-recorded. Appreciate everyone's support, and keep your comments coming in offline and on the live stream, because every time we do these, everyone seems to be enjoying it. And I really appreciate all the support and people. I love replying to your comments as well. So yeah, keep that going. Keep up the support. And yes, Frank, let's get, I have to do a couple plugs here and there, Frank. That's what we have to do around here. But going back to the tier list, guys, who's next? Bissouma.
Bissouma did well in the final and the semis. I think he played well in the final, actually. I think since he's come in, I've been relatively disappointed on the whole, though, which is a shame, because like the start of Andrew's tenure in those sort of first 5-10 games, we played Brentford away and he was sublime. Played Man United and none of them got near him, and it felt like it was kind of the Moussa Dembele we'd waited for, the replacement a little bit, and there always seems like there's a bit of an issue. Like obviously he was suspended for the first game of the season, and then this, and it's just kind of, it's frustrating. And Thomas Frank, I know, is obviously very, very keen on the idea of the best ability is availability, and I don't think he's one that can really, go with that. And so for that reason, I think he probably has to go.
I completely agree. I don't think there's much to build on this. I think, as we've heard, I've said it 3 times this episode already. Thomas Frank says, not Frank Thomas, Thomas Frank says, no D-heads in the team. As he said, he doesn't like people with an attitude. Does Bissouma fit into that category? Well, we've seen some off the pitch antics. Would I love to have kept Bissouma that was at the level he was at Brighton? Of course, he was a sensational player at Brighton, but I think we've only seen glimpses of that Bissouma, especially maybe at the end of the season. I think he was exceptional at Bodo Glimt. He had a really, really good game, a couple games in that Europa League sort of quarterfinal and final. I just think he's not consistent enough, and I think there is those question marks over his off the pitch antics. So I would probably sell him. Would you put it into the category of sell right if right offer? I just think he's only got. So. I just think, yeah, but Frank, I think he's only.
Sorry.
I think he's only got 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah,
so
no, sorry.
It's not even,
must sell now. Sorry,
it's not even a case of like. It's not even a case of like we can go, that's not enough. I think if you get between 20 and 25 million, you take him because that can be invested into developing this team further. Massively. And, pushing on further with that Thomas Frank rebuild. I'd pop him straight into sell, to be honest, mate.
I wouldn't disagree.
Okay. Just bringing up a couple of comments. Callum Roche, very kind words. Thank you, mate. He says, good stuff, lads. Love your videos. I said, like your videos. Hope you love them as well. DFST saying, super impressed with the knowledge, guys, and well articulated. Appreciate you as well, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully got you into the Spurs relatables on the subscribe button. And Rich is saying, must sell Saran Bentancur. Bit premature on Bergvall, but I'd keep. Madders is untouchable. And Bissouma sell with right offer. Well, just one thing on that, Frank. Sorry, I know we don't want to, extend this any longer than than over an hour. But Rich's point here, I've got to say, I don't agree with Marcel Sarr.
No, I don't either. I mean, I think he's coming up in a moment, and I think we'll get to that. But yeah, I
let's wait. Let's wait.
Bentancur. Sorry, just quickly as well. It's come up as a headline that it's a bit of breaking news that according to Alistair Gold, Tottenham are now in deep negotiations with Mikey Moore over a new contract.
There you go, guys. Breaking news on this live stream. That's why we do live streams, because we can bring you breaking news as well, right? New contract for Mikey Moore. There we go. What does it say? I've got it as well. Understand talks are continuing over a new deal for Mikey Moore after Spurs offer the teenager a new contract following his breakthrough season. There we go. Let's just do Mikey Moore while we're talking about it. It makes sense.
Yes. Let's. Where is he? Can't see him. There he is.
I think he's a keep. He's a keep, right?
Yeah, he's. I would almost argue that he might benefit from going on loan. Actually.
Yeah.
I mean, but not to someone that's a low level, like Chelsea did it with Amari Hutchinson when they sent him to Ipswich and they got promoted and he was brilliant. And that would be, I know they ended up selling him in the end, but that would be the one that I'd go for, like someone of that sort of level, maybe a Leicester or Ipswich who obviously gone down and someone of that level, or West Brom with Ryan Mason. But I think he is unbelievably talented, but I think we forget he's still only 17.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So I think therefore it's a loan. On the tier.
I think so. I think he's amazing, and I hope he becomes what we think he can be, because like that AZ Alkmaar game, where he was unbelievable. But I think he's probably got to go on loan to toughen him up a little bit, because I think he doesn't look fully ready to me yet.
Yeah,
is probably how I look at it.
I agree. Okay, let's go with. Who's the next player?
It's the next one.
Alfie Devine. I think. Do you loan him?
He's 21. He's 21 next month. On the start of August, he's 21. He played obviously for the same team as for Scoffitch this year. At Westerlo, and he did well. I've got his numbers here that he got 6 goals and an assist in the league. He did well. I think though, if you're 21 and this isn't, football's different now. You kind of have to break in very young if you're going to be. And he isn't probably. I know he's a slightly different role. He's more of probably a 10, but he can play that 8 as well. He isn't more advanced in what we're doing than Bergvall or than Gray, even more than Sarr. And so I would probably, if you get some decent money for him now, I'd probably look to get rid of him.
You're essentially saying get rid of him based mainly because he's nearly 21, or
I'm not sure where. Listen, I'd want Thomas Frank to have a look at him. I'm not sure now where he slots in. I think there's sort of slight difference between him and Jamie Donnelly, which we'd come to, I guess, soon. But I like him. I'd maybe look at sending him out on loan again, but it feels like that's kind of been something that's just, there's a cycle. He's had
3 loans in the last 3 seasons. Sorry, 3 loans in the last 2 seasons. He's been on loan at Port Vale, where he got 2 goals, 1 assist in 20 matches. He had 1 loan at Plymouth, which I believe was for 6 months, 15 games, 2 assists, 0 goals. And Westerlo, he got 30 matches played, 6 goals, 1 assist. As you said, he was on loan with Luka Vuskovic in the Belgian league. I think I pretty much agree with you. However, I think you sell him if you get the right offer, but if not, you loan him one more time, see how his loan spell does, and then clearly maybe give an option with Thomas Frank can recall him in January. And then if he then becomes part of that squad, if we need a deeper squad, perhaps we've got far in the Carabao Cup, perhaps we've got far in the FA Cup, then, you don't know what's going to happen with injuries as well. There has to be an option if you loan, I think, to recall a player. I think I would go with loan.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I mean, the comment there that Sarr has 3 years Premier League experience, and so it's hard to compare him, and that is it's fair. I think kind of the point I was getting at is that players now tend to break in a lot earlier, and some don't, and he is only 21, but we're talking Bergvall and Gray are 18, 19. Do you know what I mean? And so these guys are, and they're already looking like superstars, or certainly Bergvall, and I do love Archie Gray. So yeah, sorry, one sec. Very capable player, forcing him on loan would be unlikely. He breaks into the first. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with that. I like Devine. I think he looks good. I'd be happy to loan him out again. But as I say, the problem is with a lot of these young guys this year is the Champions League. If we had maybe next year that, if we end up finishing 6th or 7th and get back into a lower form of Europe, which is probably relatively likely, it wouldn't shock me if Devine goes permanently. I'd be okay with him going on loan to let. But I think it's got to be a decent level loan, like a decent Championship side or a good side in Germany or something.
Yeah, no, I can get on board with that. I think Alfie Devine, it's up for debate. But I think for the sake of this video, we put him into
loan. I think loan. I think that's fair.
Okay. How many have we got left? 15 or so, I think that is. On we go to Euro under 21 winner Archie Gray. 2 trophies for the man this season, and what a versatile player. Maybe sometimes a product of his own downfall that he is so versatile, and that he perhaps isn't. Well, he's of course not yet a master. He's still young, but he's perhaps not identified his one position really yet. Frank, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously Thomas Frank wanted him last year at Brentford. We said this yesterday, and it didn't happen, and he came to us instead. And so I think he will use him and mould him into his Norgard. Maybe not straight away, but long term. I think he's brilliant. We've seen bits of him this year that I think he's brilliant. I think playing in that 6 role, which he did a couple of times at the end of the season. I mean, Ange threw him in at Anfield when we were in the league and we were 3-1 down at half time or whatever, and then he dragged him off, which I thought Ange's treatment actually, and I thought Ange's treatment of a lot of them was superb throughout. I thought the majority of Ange's treatment of Archie Gray this year was pretty unfair at times.
Just expecting him to do a job wherever he put him. You know?
And then not really giving him a chance by then just the second that whoever was back, you'd pull him straight out. And that was harsh, because I think he probably deserved, even in those early European games, don't play him right back. Play him in midfield, play him as a 6 and let him learn.
I did feel sorry for him, but he did so well. Like, he did so well given the circumstances.
He was probably, up until maybe March time, one of the better players we've had all season. I would say he's keep untouchable, whatever you want to call it. He ain't going anywhere, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Let's pop him in. Are you saying into keep, right? Keep.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to be very good. I just think he needs some more time.
Cool. Okay, Maddison. I think it's fairly straightforward. However, what I will say, I don't know if this makes it a talking point, is Thomas Frank gonna play Maddison at the 10, Kulusevski at the 10, or are we gonna get? Because if we get an Eze, right? If we do get an Eze, which I know is looking increasingly unlikely, given all the talk about it and the fact we haven't put a bid in yet. Hopefully next week we put in something. Could you argue that if we get a number 10 or we get a Eze or whatever, Maddison then becomes technically not a starter? And so would you try and cash in? Because he's not exactly young now, is he, James Maddison? You got to remember, he's, I believe, 28 or 29.
Yeah.
So he's 28. So he's 29 at the end of the year. I'd argue that when a player gets after 30 years old, his value starts going down. I keep Maddison, but I'm just saying, not my decision. But if we get a number 10 in, does that mean he's not part of Thomas Frank's plans? I think we'll keep him, but I'm just throwing it out there. I've got to throw it out there.
I think he will stay. I've certainly this year. I mean, I think Thomas Frank. I get the impression Thomas Frank will quite like him, just a hunch, and I think Maddison's someone that since he joined has probably disappointed me more than I've been pleased with him. You know, as bad as that is, he came in with such an expectation, I think, of like being like Christian Eriksen was, and maybe not De Bruyne at City, but that sort of player, you know, that was going to create things and score goals. And started unbelievably well. Then the injury came, and last year, it's sort of second half of last year, it was whatever. And then this year, he's had moments like at United when we won 3-0 at Old Trafford. I mean, I thought he was superb. He controlled it. He was best for me. He was best player on the pitch. He dictated it, and he went quietly played well.
Yeah.
Having said that, up until I was still quite disappointed at times, and I thought he had to do more. And then obviously we went to the Etihad, and he was amazing. He scored twice, but it was, for me, it kind of changed in Europe. In those Frankfurt games, you know, like when we went away and he won the penalty, obviously it was unbelievably brave, and then got taken out and whatever. That was superb, and then scored having to Bodo Glimt, and obviously was out of the final, but played a big part in us doing well in Europe. And so I think he's a good player. I like him. Do I think you could improve on him? Not without spending a lot of money in 60, 70, 80 million pounds. But he's one I think Thomas Frank will like, and I think his output and numbers will improve under Thomas Frank.
Okay. Let's hope he you know, I want to see consistent James Maddison where you know, when he was at his, I mean, I'd argue he's at his peak, one of those seasons at Leicester where he was just absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, look, I mean, in 2021, he got 12 goals, 8 assists for Leicester, 35 appearances, 10 goals, 9 assists in 30 appearances the season after. I don't think we've quite seen those numbers. I think injury, of course, has played a part, but I think, yeah, we can easily move on and say he's a keep.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's another thing as well, that without the sort of the structure that I don't think Ange really had, I think there was so often where he'd be dropping deep, and then if you had a midfield 3 of all James Maddisons, it would have worked perfectly.
Yeah.
Because there were so many times where he wanted to drop deep and be the one to get on the ball, but then no one was there to create. And so then he'd get the ball, and then he'd be quite ineffective because he was getting so deep and in pointless positions. The Bergvall is untouchable. Don't worry. Let me swipe up a little bit.
Frank keeps forgetting to scroll up slightly before we do it. But there's the untouchable Porro, Van der Ven, Danzo, and Bergvall listed. So yeah, appreciate you coming on in. Frank, let's keep going. Let's go on to, obviously pop Maddison in keep. I think what's the point FC would say untouchable. I think by the way he's talking in the chat, he'd probably go above untouchable. But you know, I respect your opinion, mate. I think I'm not for 1 minute saying we should think about selling Maddison. I'm only suggesting that if we get a number 10 in an Eze, does he then become technically available for sale? Or I don't see a James Maddison wanting to be a backup. Do you see my point is that he won't want to sit on the bench. That's what I'm saying. Okay, right. Whew, an hour and 3 minutes in, Frank. We've still got about 10 players. I mean, if you guys, by the way, if you've watched this on replay an hour and whatever minutes, please do let me know, because I really do appreciate if you've watched it back on replay over an hour. A lot of people watch the other one on replay, so I do appreciate it. If you have, obviously keep smashing that like button, guys. Keep smashing that subscribe. But let's move on, Frank. Let's talk about Rodrigo Bentancur.
I'm gonna start off. I'm going to start off with I think he's brilliant, actually, and I know a lot of people might not like that. I think he was someone that struggled. The comment, sorry.
You have to almost zone out of the comments for times.
I think he's someone that is that struggled with when he got that second injury, the one that Matty Cash took him out and played halfway through Ange's first year, and he just come back from the ACL, and it took him a while. But I mean, pre his ACL injury, I mean, he was arguably our best player at the time. Him and Kane, but outside of that a little bit, I mean, he was outstanding, and he went on that run where he scored 2 against Leeds, scored against Sporting Lisbon. He was superb. I think he started from about March time to look like he was getting back to his best a little bit. I think he was starting to look like he was slowly getting there. I think hopefully, as I said yesterday, that you need players that are intelligent in that double pivot, and I think he's one that I think we've kind of shot down anyone that's played in the six and in midfield this year a little bit, and the last 2 years under Ange, just because. But that system is so open that it requires this kind of. You almost need like 7 people in midfield. You need like an extra 5 players or 4 players on your team to be able to cope with the pressure of the playing in the midfield in that system. So, so I think, I think, I think, that we should probably.
Comments have gone nuts now. Get Crouch back if it's only about high. I think Tyson Fury needs a game too. Brilliant.
But yeah, I just think that I think he should stay.
Yep. No, I think I don't think there's much for me to build on here. I think Rodrigo Bentancur. The other thing is perhaps correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you mentioned. I think we need experience in the team. We've got a lot of younger players, and I think Rodrigo Bentancur is a seasoned pro. He's played at international level for many years. He's played in the Serie A. He's played in the Premier League. He is a very experienced player in Europe as well. So I think you keep him. I understand. I can't remember who's just put it about him being injury prone. I understand that. However, I'd keep him for another season, especially as we're in transition and you need those kind of core players that know how to basically play against many teams. And I think Bentancur is a seasoned pro and you keep him. So I think that's, for me, simple.
I wouldn't disagree. I mean, as you say, that he's played at the top level. He's we're talking about a guy who's been good for Tottenham at times. And I think, as I say, the back end of sort of the last couple of months, I think he improved. I think it's about playing consistent games with being at a top fitness level. And obviously he had problems this year in terms of he was injured for a while, he was banned for a while. His contract, I mean the contract is something that again that is a very fair point. And
would you be happy him going on a free?
I thought it was 2027, so that has kind of changed. But then wasn't there a rumor they were trying to sort of sort out a contract soon? It is 2026.
Yeah, 2026. Yeah. Maybe a 1 year. We could see a 1 year extension then. Maybe.
Put it this way: I'd love him to sign a new contract and keep him. I mean,
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, a couple more years, add it on, and help Graham Bergvall develop and whatever. And if he isn't committed like Romero, then get rid. But I think he'll sign a new contract. I think Spurs will want to keep him.
Okay, let's put him in keep then. Perfect. As we move in to Pape Matar Sarr. Wow. Well, we had some comments about Sarr earlier. Frank, do you want to start? I mean,
it feels like throwing a grenade into the chat a little bit. This, I feel like it's gonna get a bit mad. I really like Sarr. I think Sarr's a good player. I think Sarr has every attribute to be a top player. But I don't see enough. But as I said with Bentancur, it's hard to judge anyone in that midfield massively. Bergvall made himself look incredible. And I think that's just the player that he is. I think it's hard to really judge anyone in that midfield currently. I think Pape Sarr is, as I say, has every attribute to be amazing. And I love the guy and whatever. I'm starting to question it a little bit. I think if he doesn't work under Thomas Frank, probably isn't going to work at Tottenham. It is kind of because he would have been through Conte, who kind of just brought him through, but didn't really give him enough of a chance. Ange, who kind of obviously wasn't massively keen on him, liked him and thought he was decent and was happy to use him as, a squad player, but wasn't, I think it became quite clear that he was keen on Bergvall and he was keen on Bentancur by the end. So I do like Pape Sarr. I think Sarr probably has to see how he goes under Thomas Frank, and then if that doesn't work, then I'd maybe look to sell if the right offer. But for now, I don't think there's I think he's a keep.
I think keep. I don't think I had much more to add. I agree. It'd be interesting to see how Thomas Frank enjoys him as, how he uses him as a player. I think he's going to be on the bench next season. However, he's too good to loan, of course, but I think there's not much to build on what you just said, Frank. You're taking the words out of my mouth. I think it just depends how Thomas Frank utilizes him and if he wants to use him as a sort of can he use him as a 6? I feel like he's a player that plays further forward than that.
Agreed.
I think there's no arguments we need a number 6. So I think keep. I think keep.
There's a comment in the chat that I think is spot on from Julian where it says it depends if Frank wants an engine or carrying midfield. That's the one for me. I think we don't really have another player like him that can just keep going. Bergvall a little bit is, but Bergvall's the close to him, but he can just keep going. And so he's an option. And as we said yesterday, Thomas Frank is so adaptable and wants these different options that he is certainly gives you a different choice.
Sure.
So, I agree.
All sorts of comments going in the chat. I can't even bring half of them up. I think you two are applying to be Sar's agent. I don't know if he means us or the guys in the chat. A1 Synergy saying, who do you think our best players are? I think this is all to do with this argument in the chat. What's the point? SC always brings the comments in. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, let's move on now to...
we've got Kulu.
Yeah. Sorry, Kulu. I was looking at the wrong line. Kulusevski. Okay. Well, for me, it's an easy keep. The reason being is I think he's going to do well under Thomas Frank. I think you mentioned yesterday, Frank, that you think he'll almost be more back where he was before, a right winger. Rich is saying sell Kulu. Oh, it's all going to kick off now. I think Kulusevski is an experienced player who is versatile, so can fit in the 10 should we need it, especially if we don't sign a number 10. He's going to be the backup to Maddison in that position, arguably. Also got what's the point saying sell Kulu. He's another terrible low IQ player, and they've got Julian, who I already think has exceptional ball knowledge, saying keep Kulu. Low IQ. Kulusevski doesn't have low IQ. I'm telling you that. He's a clever
footballer. That's the last thing I'd go for, I think.
He's clever because he isn't blessed with pace, yet he still knows how to shield the ball, keep the ball, move the ball forward, and still get a good delivery in. He can play as a number 10, so he's clearly a bit of a maestro. Earlier in the season, he was probably one of our better players. I think, frankly, this doesn't even need much more. For me, this doesn't need much more conversation. You keep him.
I think that's probably what actually separates him from being the Spurs aren't a big club, but a real top club, Manchester City or Real Madrid or whoever, that he doesn't have that yard of pace, that he isn't, that quick. If he had that pace, I think he'd hurt you so much more because the positions he gets into and things. I think that's probably separates him.
He's a bit. Pep. I remember Pep once saying Kulusevski, what a player. He likes Pep Guardiola likes Kulusevski. He's a good player, and in some respects, when he plays at the 10, he plays like a bit of a. In a way, I'm not saying he's as good as De Bruyne. Don't try and clip me for this, but in a way, the way he plays is like a slightly less amazing version of Kevin De Bruyne in the sense that he's clever with the ball. He can ping passes. He can play some exceptional passes. I just think he's a great player. I don't think there's much more we need to even discuss with Kulusevski, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
Right. Is that Wilson Odobert next?
It is. He's a keep. But I don't think he's untouchable because I think you've got to be a real. From what I've seen so far of Odobert, I'm quite impressed though. Obviously, he missed a long period of the season with the injury he got at Coventry, and then he came back against AZ Alkmaar, I think it was, and got injured again. So Odobert is someone that I like and I've been impressed with. I want to see a little bit more next season. Hopefully he gets a good run and whatever. But he takes people on. He's exciting, and I think he's going to end up being a really good player.
Completely agree. Nothing to add. Odobert, big season for him under Thomas Frank. Completely new manager, completely new system. Couldn't he be back up for us on the wing? I think so. Could he break into the first team? Well, he did under Ange. I think let's see how we get on. Okay, next. Is that Manor Solomon?
I think it is. It is.
Well, let's. I already did a video on Manor Solomon, but for me, he goes in sell if right offer, because he's got value there now after a great loan spell at Leeds United. Well into the double figures for goals and assists combined. Let's just double check. Yeah, 10 goals, 13 assists in 39 games. Leeds United absolutely love the player. He causes talking points, of course, in terms of can he do it in the Premier League. But I would sell him because he's currently got a market value of between 15 to 20 million euros. And don't forget, we got him on a free, Frank. We got him on a free from Shakhtar Donetsk. I know it was controversial, but we did. I think we sell if we get the right offer. What do you think?
I would agree, to be honest with you. I like him as a player. I thought last year he got a couple of assists on the Ange's first season. Sorry, he got a couple of assists when we played Burnley. He came in and he looked quite exciting. But for me, given that we've got Tell, we've got Odobert, Johnson's still young, and I imagine they're probably going to look to get another young attacker. They've got Mikey Moore there coming through. Whether he goes on loan or not, it's a different argument, but they've got him coming through. I think if you can get 15, 20 million for him, and that pays off the signing of nearly Matisse Tell, I think that's the business that you do, personally.
Agreed. Let's do it. Let's pop him in that category. Absolutely.
Brennan Johnson.
Johnson again. Ole. I think, well, can't argue what a season he had. I'm not his biggest fan, I'll be honest, just because I think he's limited with what he can do. However, his output was brilliant last season. Top scorer, scored in the Europa League final. Good player to have around, especially as the fact that Thomas Frank likes this player and tried to sign him for Brentford while he was still at Nottingham Forest. I think he should become more of a second striker, as Julian Hughes has just said in the chat. I think he could really drift inside and play almost a bit like he did for Forest as he was backing up the striker. And I think in a Thomas Frank system, as we broke down yesterday in that tactics analysis, Frank, guys, go and watch it if you haven't done so already, that he can almost play as a right wing that drifts inside depending on how the game goes.
Exactly. And like as we said yesterday, if he moves to 5 in midfield and throw it back with 2 up top, that he can play next to Solanke and run off of Solanke. But he can also, at Forest, he ran at people more so than he did last year. I think there was a confidence thing in there. Obviously, the start of the season, the Instagram thing, and all this sort of stuff. There's not a world for me where Brennan Johnson is not Tottenham player next season, and I'm delighted about that because I want him to stay because I love the guy.
Absolutely.
To be honest, he can do whatever he wants for the rest of his life at Tottenham. He gave us probably the best moment or the best moment I've ever had supporting Tottenham. So for that reason, he can have his own category.
Yep. No, completely agree. Let's pop him in. Julian saying keep Johnson, play him up front. A1 Synergy saying allows Frank to use 2 up top with a back 5. Exactly. That change up of formation mid game, or depending, you could start the game like that. Okay, so what have we got next? We've got about 10 left. Have we got?
We have got
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
10 exactly.
10.
I think.
Okay, next up,
Jamie Donnelly. I think some of these we can probably. I think we'll probably be on so we can get through relatively quickly.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do the ones we can get through relatively quickly. Then let's go.
Just look at. I think Jamie Donnelly's one of those that we can probably, I think he's probably going to go on loan. It's the same problem with having the Champions League is that you can't give these guys the chance really.
Agreed. Easy.
So Donnelly had an unbelievably good time, a good year at Leyton Orient.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd like him to be part of it next year. I don't think he will. I think he stays.
8 goals. Sorry, Frank. 8 goals,
No.
10 assists in 42 matches for Leyton Orient, as well as a goal in. I thought he scored a goal in the FA Cup. No, it got counted as an own goal. It was
The own
against.
goal, yeah.
It was against Man City, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think he is one that could end up being a Tottenham player one day and being a good Tottenham player at that. But for now, I think he probably has to go on loan. As I say, if we had the Conference League or the Europa League, this would look very different, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think he has to go on loan.
Cool. Loan. I'm going to catch up on the chat as well while we're just about to do the next couple. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's just people arguing in the comments again. Okay, let's go.
Right. Yang. Hyukmin Yang. Kind of tried to follow him as much as I could in that second half of the season. And he was very good at QPR. He got a couple of goals in the Championship, I think. Which given that he was, he just moved over here, I don't think he spoke the language. And he was thrown straight into the Championship, which is a difficult league. It's a physical league. It's not easy. And he was thrown straight into it. And he scored a couple of goals, got an assist or two, I think, as well. I think he could be really exciting. Again, though, I'd loan him out.
Agree. I think he's not quite ready for that first team yet. And he's not quite ready for the bench yet. So I think he's going to be, a loan, same as Jamie Donnelly. Okay, let's go with the next one.
Let's have a look. Will Lancashire played a decent amount for us actually this year.
He did. He got a goal against Galatasaray away in the Europa League.
Yeah. Didn't actually play as much at times I would have liked. I mean, he could have started up front against Tamworth. Instead we had Werner start up front that day. And games like that. And he wasn't really given much of a chance after the red card at Galatasaray, which is a bit of a shame. And then at West Brom, again, like sort of Phillips, I tried to sort of keep an eye on what their fans said, and I know that a lot of them quite liked him, but he just didn't score any goals. And so I would be quite keen on loaning him out again, basically. I think that's going to be a common theme here. You still here? Oh, are we back?
We're back. Can you hear me?
We're back. Yeah, we're back.
Internet's just gone for a second. That's what happens when you go live for about 2 hours. I'm sure Frank yelled your own there while I just gone. Okay, sorry Frank, I didn't hear what you said, so I'm assuming you were just talking about Will Lancashire.
I just said I think he has to go on loan. Basically, I think that's the common theme with a lot of these younger guys who look like good players, but I think without a lower form of Europe, I think they will have to go on loan.
Okay, perfect. Let's pop him there then. Okay, Dane Scarlett. I know you have something to say on this one.
I think Dane Scarlett might go permanently, actually, which is a shame. Whether or not I want him to is a different argument, but I think he will. I like Dane Scarlett. I think Dane Scarlett. I went with a mate and we went to watch Dane Scarlett for Oxford last year about Christmas time. We did a trip to Oxford to go and watch him, and he played pretty well that day. And it was quite apparent that he was a good footballer. That he was a better level than quite a lot of what he was playing with. But sadly, I'm not sure if he breaks into this team. Again, I'd like him to. I think, like Troy Parrott, I'd like to see him go on loan to Holland or something. Somewhere where it's a little bit different of a thing. He's a big enough guy. The physical aspect, I don't think, is the issue for him. which means I think the English leagues maybe isn't the next move. I'd look at maybe sending him to a Germany or to Holland and to a decent side over there, like Alkmaar, with where Parrott's obviously gone. Those sorts of clubs where hopefully he can go and score some goals.
I think this summarises it. Julian Hughes, Lone Scarlet, last chance saloon, like you said, loan him to a league maybe outside the Premier League. Sorry, get rid of Dane. He's not tall enough. Right, let's go to the next fight. Last five, is it? Last 5 or 6? Who we got?
Brian Gill, I think, is next, and I think there's only one answer, to be honest.
Must sell. He's got to go. What a terrible signing that was. Let's be honest. He works quite well in La Liga. Not a bad player in La Liga. In Premier League, he doesn't work well. He's played under a few different managers. It hasn't really worked. Some reason we made the worst mistake in getting rid of Eric Lamela and paying 25 million for this guy. I think that was what we did. I mean, that is absolutely horrendous. The Spanish Cruyff wasn't quite the Spanish Cruyff, unfortunately. It's a must sell. I don't think we need to even even discuss it. Brian Hill looks like a mop with legs, plays like it too. Well, I think that just about sums it up.
I think just quickly on Gill, the bit that makes me laugh is that not only did we, get fleeced of £25 million and Eric Lamela, is the next year we sent him back on loan, Brian Gill, to Seville. So they ended up having both the players and the money. And that was probably some of the worst business I've ever seen Tottenham do ever.
That was before. Was that before Don Paratici? I mean, apparently Don Paratici might be back in the Spurs setup next. Apparently his ban runs out at the end of the month. So there we go. Anyway, that's a new video because we're an hour and a half into this. We're double what we thought we'd do, Frank. I knew this was going to happen, but I've enjoyed it. Matthias Tell, I don't even think we need to discuss because he's staying. He's keeping. Yeah. He's not untouchable, but we're keeping him. We have bought him for around, I think it was nearly £40 million. Was it in the end, Frank?
Yeah, I think it was about 29 or 30. I think it was a little bit less. So it's I think it's very cheap for. I mean, when I look at Bino Gittins is going to Chelsea for 55. There's players out there that comment. There's players out there that are going for large sums of money. I mean, João Pedro they reckon might go for 70 odd. To Chelsea from Brighton. I mean, it's a lot of money. Tell 29 million. Realistically, if it doesn't work, you probably make 20 back or something like that. You'd send him back to Germany or to someone in France and you probably make the money back. I think he will. I think the raw talent is there. I think he's a real super talent. And but I don't think he's a wide winger, as we said yesterday, that I don't think under Ange that was kind of going to work. I think in this system of the inside forwards where Visser got 23 contributions, I think it was in the league. I mean, I think he's going to suit it perfectly.
I agree. It's almost like he's going to be the Brennan Johnson that can be his man, but he's going to drift in from the wing and come as more of a second striker option to Solanke, supporting in the box and making runs into the box. I think it's going to work nicely. And easy peasy. Keep Matthias Tell. I think what's the point? I'll be honest. I think you're the only person in the chat that thinks this, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I really am not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I think we've got to see how Matthias Tell does, especially as we've invested now. So let's see what happens. Okay, let's go with easy one. Valise. Goodbye. Yeah. See you later. Thanks for trying. Appreciate it. But I don't know why we bought this player. I was always unsure of why we bought this player. I can even tell you. I mean, I think he's had injury problems, but I just, even when he's played and he's come on, I'm just thinking like he's not even better than Scarlett. So get rid of this guy.
He's not. I mean, he scored against Brighton when he came on. About halfway through Andrew's first season, and then I remember he got quite badly injured against Bournemouth, I think it was about New Year, and that was kind of the last we saw of him. I was there. I remember it. It was I feel like that was the end of
2023.
3, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. We won 3-1. I believe the kid that used to support Tottenham scored as
Alex
he came off
Scott,
the bench.
yeah.
Alex Scott, yeah. Okay, let's easy one. Sell. Right, Solanke. Is he untouchable? I think he's untouchable. Don't you?
Do you think so?
Oh,
I like him. I really like him, and I've been a big fan of him.
Mm.
I mean, then again, I look at it and go, well, I don't know who's going to pay 60 odd or 50 odd million pound for him from Tottenham. I don't know who takes him and poaches him from Tottenham. So by that logic, I guess he is, because I don't know where else he'd go. Kind of, if you I think Solanke's level is Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he's Madrid. I don't think he's City. I think we are the level below the top lot, and I think that's probably his level. So I think by that logic, I think he's untouchable, because I don't think anyone's going to poach him from above.
I think he's untouchable because I think he's going to have an exceptional season.
There's that as well.
We only saw 9 Premier League goals from Solanke in 2024-2025. And I just think that he's going to play a slightly different role in the Thomas Frank system. He's not going to drop quite as deep. He's going to be in that box, scoring goals, getting in there for the tap-ins that maybe Johnson was picking up last season. And I think Frank will utilise him much better than Ange did. Ange almost played him as if he was Harry Kane, where he used to drop deep for us and spread the play, from a goal kick or, coming out from the back. Almost, you saw Solanke dropping very deep, coming as far back as like a number 8 and number 10. And it's like, keep him up there. And just didn't work under the tactics with Ange, but I can see him really blossoming. I would almost put him in untouchable. I think Dom Solanke, you could then unlock that untouchable if he has a bad season and potentially talk about, selling him if the right offer came in. But I think I'm going to say it now. I think Dom Solanke is going to be our player of the season. I don't know why. I've got this feeling that he's going to do very well this season. And I think he's going to score about 15 to 20 Premier League goals. That's my opinion. I'm probably going to get cooked, but that's just what I'm saying. I'm feeling it with Dom Solanke. I think he's going to be class. I think he's going to get Buemo sort of numbers, Vissa sort of numbers. Someone in our team is going to do that. Thomas Frank gets the best out of players, and I just think it's going to be Dom Solanke that kicks on, hopefully with no injuries, and excels.
I mean, we saw as well how well we did with Ivan Toney. That Toney was someone that hadn't done overly well at Newcastle, couldn't really break into the team, and then went to Peterborough and did pretty well. But then obviously when they picked him up and he scored a lot of goals, Ollie Watkins the same. He can, even though last year they didn't play without an out-and-out number 9, or certainly that sort of big number 9, like this was obviously Vissa played there last year, like Toney and Watkins were. I think he can play in both ways, Thomas Frank, and so I think Solanke will end up doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, I did go quite high there, Julian. I did. Let's see what happens. Appreciate everyone still interacting and commenting. And apparently, I'm too emotionally connected to donkeys in our squad. Interesting. What's the point? Listen, mate. I genuinely, hand on heart, I love your comments, but I just think, sometimes you just got to be a bit more optimistic and a bit more, willing for us to do well and have a bit more of an open mind. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying. I think, some players will do better than you expect. And big up also Dermatron, legend, good channel. THFC till we die. Let's talk about the last one, Frank. Is it the last one or was it the last 2?
We've got 2 to go, and both quite topical ones.
Got him.
We got Richarlison first. I'm gonna kick it off by saying I think he should probably be a must sell, actually.
Whoa. Okay, let's hear it. The mic's yours.
I think Richarlison, in the 3 years, I want to say it's been since 2022, in the 3 years he's been at Tottenham, I think has pretty much been a disappointment. For £60 million, he had the run in Ange's first season where he scored 10 in 10 or whatever it was. And he had a decent run in the back end of Europe when he got the assist against Bodo Glimt. Played in both the semi-finals and the final, and he did well in the final. But for me, I think there's probably a stage now where you can still actually cash in and get some decent money for him. I think you could still actually squeeze 25-30 million out of him, whether that be from Everton again, whether that be from Saudi Arabia, or someone completely different. But they would probably be the two I reckon he'd probably go to, especially as Everton have obviously lost Calvert-Lewin as of today.
So what are you saying then? Are you saying sell?
I would look to get rid of him ASAP.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a bit of an argument in the sense that I think you need. Just because you work hard doesn't mean that you get into the team. I understand that, but I think Richarlison has an engine on him, and he works hard. Is his output good enough? No, it's not. He doesn't score enough. He doesn't assist enough. However, is he an option off the bench that brings you something different? Perhaps. But I think it's not a must sell. I think it's a sell if you get the right offer. I think personally.
I think he's an option off the bench. The issue for me is that he's only on the bench about 40% of the time.
True. Yeah, true.
And that's like I sort of said earlier on that, A1 Synergy in the comments that he puts in a shift, but if you can get some money from him, I think you've probably got to take it because he's a player working hard. And I think Thomas Frank will make this a big thing as well. Working hard will be the bare minimum. That's every player's got to work hard, and so then he kind of loses his selling point, I think, in comparison to the rest. And so you won't play for Thomas Frank without working hard. The best ability is availability. So that's kind of for me. I think he will. I think he's probably got to go. I think you can probably still get 25-30 million. I'm gutted that they didn't get Delap.
Really, you think he's going to do that well?
Yeah, I think Delap's superb. And the 30 million or whatever he cost, I'm sure he's on £1 billion a week or whatever at Chelsea, but in 30 million as a fee, I mean, is disappointing because I think he's brilliant. But there's good strikers out there. I mean, it wouldn't be the greatest shock if they went for Calvert-Lewin, which has gone against everything I've just said about Richarlison.
Wait! You want them to get Calvert-Lewin?
Oh no, not at all.
I was going to say, Jesus,
just wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me on a free transfer. He's English. It just makes sense. Then it's the sort of thing Tottenham do. I mean, they've probably look for someone that's even more injured than Richarlison somehow.
Okay. Right. So, are we agreed on sell if right offer then?
Yeah, I'm happy to go there. I'm happy. If there was a category in between, I think you'd be in there. Put it that way.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like someone sell. Like if you get a near enough offer, I agree. And last but not least, an hour and 37 minutes. If you're still watching, make sure you hit this like button. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you comment below your thoughts, especially if you're watching on catch up. I appreciate all you legends that watch on repeat because, I mean, it's an hour and a half. If you've watched all through it, you're absolutely great people. But Heung-min Son, I mean, I say we've been going an hour and 37. We could be going for another 23 minutes here, Frank. I mean, I don't even want to be the person that starts this because I know it's going to cause controversy. Like, listen, Heung-min Son is a Tottenham Hotspur legend. He's won his trophy. I was more happy for Son than I was that I got to see a trophy last season. That's how much I love the guy. But we have to be realistic. Heung-min Son is 32 years old, I believe. Is he nearly 33?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
So let me just double check that. Yeah, he's 32. He's 33 next week, actually. So I knew it was soon. Let's be honest, he's not going till he's 40. He's not going to be at Tottenham till he's 40. He's probably not going to be at Tottenham till he's 35. And he's probably not going to be at Tottenham until he's 34. And there's two options. You keep him for another season to get on board with the Frank project, help the younger players out and players essentially as a backup. Or you cash in while he's got a bit of value, certainly a lot of commercial value, and you take 30, 40 million from a Saudi club that wants to come in and bid big money for a player that's only got 12 months left on his contract. I think what we will do is if a big offer comes, we will sell him. But I think if a big offer doesn't come in, we will keep him and we will make millions on shirt sales again for another season. He will be there as an experienced player, a great guy to have in the dressing room, and then he will leave on a free next summer. What do I think we should do? Frank, I'm switching to you on this one, mate, because it just depends. I think sell if you get the right offer. I think he should be able. I think Son should be able to make his own decision.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as you said, he's a legend, and I love him, and I'll always love him because he's a hero.
Hmm.
And I would argue that he's a bigger legend than Kane because he stayed, he won his trophy. For that, he's amazing. Having said that, since you could argue that when Conte benched him, he came on and scored a hat trick that day. So but against Leicester, so it's a bad example. But there was the start of the sort of downfall a little bit then, and the decline maybe is the better word. And so I love him. I think if the right offer is there, I think the fact that he didn't play against Brighton on the last day of the season, so his final ever moment in a Spurs shirt was lifting the trophy and over that bus, is quite fitting.
Yeah, it's a fairy tale ending, isn't it?
Yeah. And having said that, I mean, I said to you earlier on, before this, that from a commercial point of view, and this is, I'm a fan, I'm not an owner, so I shouldn't sit here, arguing the point of Daniel Levy or whatever. But from a commercial point of view, Son brings in a lot of revenue, and that's a massive amount of revenue. I would be surprised. It depends how much that is, right? If the shirt sales and whatever, and people come to see Son at games and all these different things, if that outweighs the fee that you could get from this summer, then I think he'll stay, because I find it hard to see a world where Daniel Levy would leave Tottenham next season without him or Yang. Not that Yang was bought on a commercial basis. I think he looks like a real good talent.
I'll be honest. I'm going to say it for you. I think that's up for debate. I think there was a clever strategic decision to buy Yang, and I think, do they think he's going to be the next Son? Of course, there's an element to that, but I really do believe that there's also an element commercially that they bought him, and so I think what you are alluding to is the fact that there's not going to be a squad without a Son or a Yang in there.
I think so, because from a commercial point, it aids massively. I mean, I don't know how many people come from Korea for each home game, but there's a lot, and that's amazing, because that's brilliant that we and Son have that pool. It's great. I mean, you probably go to parts of Asia or whatever, and Man United were always the biggest club or whatever, and Tottenham have taken over that, and that's incredible. I mean, I'm pretty sure Tottenham own the equivalent of Sky Sports over in Korea. That they own the channel, and I mean, Son's got his own channel in Korea, his own TV channel. That it's massive. And so, do I think? I think that the fee would probably this summer would probably outweigh the commercial gain on paper. But then, as I say, I think Yang. I think they probably got Son's help on it, and to find the next superstar in Korea. It was obviously in the mind to have one that's that's going to have that pull from Korea. But I think Son is. I think Son, to go back to the original question, I think Son, if the right fee comes in, and he's too short, as it says in the comments, it is probably the right thing to do to get rid of him.
I think so. I think I agree. From what I said, you sell him if the 30 or 40 million comes in from Saudi. If not, you keep him for another season to bed in with Thomas Frank's new team, to be that voice in the dressing room, the winner. But I would also love it if Son goes out on a high and we can get 30 to 40 million for him.
Yeah.
Going out as a Europa League winner, lifting that trophy will forever live in a lot of Spurs fans' memories. Well, all Spurs fans' memories, if you're a true fan, especially after waiting 17 long years. And that's it, really. That is it. If you scroll slightly up more, there we go. There we have it. We've got Untouchable, Pedro Porro, Van der Ven, Udoji, Bergval, Solanke. We've got Brandon Austin, Guglielmo Vicario, Kinski, Davies, Dragusin, Danzo. Obviously, Takai, the new signing, Vuskovic, Jed Spence, Archie Gray, James Madison, Benton Kerr, as well as Pape Matar, Kulusevski, Odebert, Johnson again, and of course Matthias Tell. A loan for Ashley Phillips, Mikey Moore, Devine, Yang, Lancashire, Scarlett, and Jamie Donnelly. And then sell if right offer, you've got Romero, Solomon, Richarlison, and Sonny, as we've just talked about. And further down, must sell of Fraser Forster, who's already gone, Alfie Whiteman, who has already gone, Højbjerg has already gone, Reguilon as well, and Werner, obviously Ange, that's another video. Basuma, Brian Hill, and Valise are the ones we've manually added to that conversation. Guys, let us know in the comments below if you agree, if you don't agree, if you disagree. Let us know why you disagree. And as I said at the start of the video and the middle of the video, smash like on this video if you did enjoy this live stream and you want to see more. Comment below. Frank, appreciate your time, mate. We were aiming for an hour, weren't we? But we failed miserably. But we just love talking about Tottenham. That's what we love doing. But hopefully we've entertained you guys on this Sunday afternoon. Sorry I didn't bring up some of the comments. I just saw, a lot of people arguing in the live stream, and I just didn't think I could sift through that. But I really appreciate everyone's comments. And hopefully you guys can subscribe to the channel and like the stream. And if you subscribe, you can also turn off post notifications where you never miss an upload or a live stream from us. We're planning to do daily content, so stick around, keep an eye out for our YouTube lives and our videos, and obviously give us some comments on your ideas for new content as well. Archer, big up, guys. Really appreciate it. And guys, Frank, thanks so much. Hope you've enjoyed it, mate.
Thanks for having me back again. I've enjoyed myself. It's been good.
Super, mate. I think you're a bit of a keep on the channel, if you like, in terms of our tier list. Everyone's loving it. I didn't ignore your comments. I saw all of them. I just didn't bring them all up. But guys, thank you so much for coming in, everyone. As I said, like, subscribe, comment, and as always, come